My name is Patrick Ahern, and I am the CEO and Producing Artistic Director here at the Riverside Center for the Performing Arts. The vision here for Riverside is pretty simple. The vision is to become the performing arts center for the region. We are offering quality Broadway productions here. We have become one of the premier regional theaters on the Atlantic coast. It's the mission to keep it that way. The vision here at Riverside is to possibly convert the theater space into just theater. It makes us more dynamic in our offerings and being able to not only produce these great Broadway musicals and Broadway plays, but to bring in concerts, amazing guest speakers, maybe even bring in a small Broadway national tour. The performing arts is essential to the health and well-being of a community, and we want to be the pivotal theater performing arts center to make all of that happen.
Theater and music is important to every community, and especially for the youth in our community. I think we at Riverside are trying to do more with our children's theater that's launching in the fall, potentially one day starting the School of the Arts. Music and theater is something that I know as a child when I started it. I never necessarily thought that this is where I would end up, but I think the skills that you learn in theater or music, the discipline that's required, the public speaking skills and being able to get up in front of a group of people and speak clearly, and that's something that will pay off in any sort of field you're in. In addition to just the hard skills that we learn, the appreciation for the arts is something that I hope by starting early with kids, that's something that will continue through the rest of their lives.
Oh man.
Theater is so important for the community, especially live theater, because it just brings people together, it brings people joy. You can come to the theater, have a wonderful night of entertainment, forget about your troubles for a little bit. Riverside Theater brings arts to the community, and the community comes to Riverside for the arts.
You try to do a nice mixture of shows that are newer, combination with shows that are tried and true classics from the golden age of musical theater, and then some really terrific plays, things that mean something. You know, we're not only here to entertain, but we're also here to change minds sometimes or make people think. You know, my motto is you're only as good as your last show. What I love about Riverside is when people walk out and I'm here to greet them, they will say, "That's the best one yet." It may or may not be, but if people are walking out thinking that, then I think we've achieved what we want to do in selecting the shows that our audiences want to see.
One aspect of rehearsals that audiences might be surprised about, I've had some people come up to me and they say, "Wow, this must be so fun, and you all look like you're having so much fun." And it is fun. I don't mean to say that it's not. We have a great time in rehearsals, but rehearsals are also like anything else. It's work, and we spend a lot of long hours, and I think people sometimes, they see the finished product on stage, and they don't necessarily understand how many hours and how many different versions of that great show-stopping number they just saw. It might have gone through 6 or 7 different versions of that before we finally landed on the one. So it's a lot of hard work, and we have fun doing it, and obviously the payoff once we get the audience and that final piece of the puzzle is the best part of it, because it makes it all worth it.
You want to start your season off with a bang. We will come out in January, February, into March with what we call the hit parade of the jukebox musicals. What is a jukebox musical? It's mainly a composer's greatest works. You take, for instance, a show like The Buddy Holly Story, which was a big hit here. $1 Million Quartet, which was Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash. We opened this past season with Jersey Boys. Huge commercial hit, ran on Broadway for many, many years. So you balance those shows, get people's attention, and then you are able to pepper in a show like Ragtime, which we did 2 years ago, which is a monumental Broadway show that deals with racial issues and inequalities. You're able to do a show that, like we've got coming up this next year in 2025, Next to Normal, that deals with mental health, that won the Pulitzer Prize. So we're constantly doing the tried and trues, like everybody loves The Sound of Music, but for every Sound of Music, we're able to get in something that's a little more like a To Kill a Mockingbird, a classic play that we're going to have in season 2025. So it is a balancing act. We're here to put people in the seats, but we're also here to jog people's heads a little bit and let them think about, wow, that really resonated with me. That makes a difference in my life.
From somebody with little to no theater background before I started here at Riverside, I wasn't too sure getting into the industry how I was to feel about theater as a concept, as an art form. It did not take me long to realize this is such a powerful way to convey feeling and emotion to different people every single night. When it comes to community, for the longest time, I grew up here and I had no idea that Riverside was this little hidden gem tucked away out here in Stafford County.
Yeah, we're Broadway's best in Virginia. I had to say that once. I grew up in Charlestown, West Virginia. I've been performing my whole life, but when I was working at Hershey Park, my roommate at the time told me about an audition for a theater in Virginia. They were doing a production of White Christmas, and I was like, I want to go to that audition. And I auditioned and I got the job, and the rest is history. I've been working here for give or take over 10 years.
I first applied to be a server just to wait tables here in the theater. And quickly after that, about a week, I got approached by our production manager at the time to ask if I wanted to work backstage for Beauty and the Beast. And ever since then, I've kind of just climbed the ropes and got to working in charge of backstage and now sitting up in the booth running the shows.
Gee, I'm hoping that live theater is around for years and years and years to come. You know, there's nothing like it. In this age of streaming, your phone has everything at its fingertip. We don't want people to forget about how great it is to be in a theater and all experiencing something that's happening live, because it is going to only happen in that moment, in that time. You can't pause it. You can't stop it. You can't pause it to go get something to eat. You have to be right there at that moment in time. And to be with your fellow man, applauding, cheering, that doesn't exist in any other form. Not in streaming, sometimes when you go to the movie theater, but live theater is the essence of what it is to be a performer and to be an audience member.
One of the main aspects of working as a crew member here in live theater is you are a core and integral part of making sure that the magic of the show happens without being seen as much as possible to the audience. The audience almost never knows that the crew members and our dressers are even a part of the show, but they are there and they are very, very important. They make sure that everything gets set up safely and securely. They make sure that our actors, dancers, singers are super well taken care of. They go through every single set change before we get into the run of the show. Biggest challenges we as stage managers face for live performances is anything can happen at any point. It's kind of a reason why I love this job, because you never really know what's going to happen on any given day, and every day is just a little bit different. When it comes to correcting things that go wrong in a live performance, if it's bad enough, sometimes we do have to do what's called a hold on the show and full stop in front of a house of 300 plus people, stop the performance for general safety.
Like
and
one time when the power went out.
That Jersey Boys
we had to hold the show.
So many illnesses, so many power outages, just so many things went wrong with Jersey Boys seemingly out of nowhere, but we overcame and the show must go on.
Yeah, so there's a lot of logistics to manage. What I really enjoy is that I get to work with so many different kinds of people. So I'm working with actors, directors, choreographers, but I also work with musicians. They speak two very different languages, so the way that I work with different people, I have to kind of adjust the way I approach that. Likewise for the lighting designers, the scenic designers, the music in a musical is a part of all of those decisions. So when the lights bump, and when they turn on, and when they turn off, and when they fade out, or when the scenic transition starts, all of that is informed and in conjunction with the music. I started as an actor. I was a musician as well growing up. I went to school actually for theater. So I'm able to draw on all those different experiences that I've had and able to be a member of the team that works with all of those different kinds of people.
One of the best moments that you can have working here at Riverside is just the amount of fun that you have in any department. Speaking directly as when I was working backstage crew, there is just so much built up camaraderie between you and your fellow crew members and between the crew members and the actors on the stage.
You become like almost like a family instantly, like with your cast. Like day one of rehearsal, you feel like you just already know the people that you're working with, even if you just met them. And that's also the beauty of live theater.
Absolutely. It's almost like being adopted and just babied into this new nurturing role. And it's such a fun experience.
Audience members have become like second family to us. You know, we see them in the front row. Oh, they come to every show. They're like a family too.
Absolutely.
It really is a sense of community here at Riverside.
You know, you get comfortable with your fellow cast members and your fellow crew members. The farther along you go, the more comfortable you get with each other, so much to where you're having fun with each other backstage.
And then the closing show.
The closing show, we all cry tears, some sad, sad, some happy. It's such a roller coaster of emotions. It means the world to
I
us.
wouldn't trade it for the world.
A memorable moment, I think, if I'm just thinking back on this season, I've been very lucky at Riverside. As the music supervisor, I get to conduct and play a lot of shows here, which is wonderful, but I started out as an actor. So every once in a while, Patrick will twist my arm and I'll get back on stage as an actor. So this past spring, I had a chance to do They're Playing Our Song, which is a musical not everybody's familiar with. Neil Simon, Marvin Hamlish, it's a wonderful, wonderful musical. And that was a really big highlight of this year, was to get back on stage, be on the other side of the stage. Usually I'm down in the pit, so to be back up on stage was a real highlight and was a real treat.
One of my favorite moments here at the theater, we were doing a production of the Riverside Christmas Spectacular, and a soldier came home, and during the performance he surprised his family, and I just remember that was one of the most special moments I've ever been a part of in theater.
We went through all the trouble of getting him backstage, giving him a cue line. It was a very sweet moment.
I was crying backstage.
It was fantastic. Oh, we had a proposal.
Yes, we did.
We did. Right over there at one of our tables back there, we had a couple who had met at Riverside many, many years ago, and Beauty and the Beast was her favorite movie of all time. During, I think, intermission of that show, he proposed to her right on the spot. The whole audience got to watch them, get engaged.
Once we have fleshed out the season here at Riverside, at least 6 months before we even get into that season, we start having production meetings for each one of the shows. So it starts with the production meeting with all the different departments, and the vision is shared for what we want to do with that production. Each person gets a chance to speak about it, how it's going to work, what we need to do, what the budget is going to be. Those production meetings happen over the course of 2-3 months before you actually start building a set, designing a costume, and casting a show. So it many facets before you see the opening performance, all the different things that happen along the way.
So one of my rituals before a show, before I even drive to the theater at home, I do a little bit of a stretch and a warm-up, especially because as a dancer in a lot of the shows, I have to be physically warmed up to do the show.
Can't have you cramping up on stage.
And coffee. And talking to my mom.
As a stage manager, I don't really have any rituals per se before a show other than our pre-show checklist, make sure our lights are in working order, make sure no props are missing, make sure all of our actors are going to be there today. But one thing that I do as a stage manager is I have a little box of knickknacks and gifts that I've gotten, whether it's past props from previous shows I've done or little gifts from my cast members that I've worked with in the previous shows. And every show that I do, when I'm up in the stage manager's booth, I will line all of these little trinkets up and always be able to look down and look back on with fondness a little bit. People do say it is good luck to have a ghost in the theater. That is why every theater you go to will have something called a ghost light.
Yeah.
That is to keep the ghosts in the theater comfortable and make sure that they can still see after everybody else, all the living beings in the building, have left for the evening.
Well, I will share my story. Ron Wayman started this theater. In terms of some theater ghosts that may haunt this place, and I don't mean haunt in a negative way, I think it's a way that it's the place that he started, it's the place that he built from the ground up, and I have not personally experienced any of this, but I have heard stories and from different people and about sometimes they're here late at night and they hear something or something moves that might not have been there before or whatever. So I like to think of it as like Ron's like an angel that's kind of watching over the theater and making sure that what he started continues on for a long time to come.
Yeah, we've got a ghost in this theater. I know we've got one.
I don't have any personal stories. Do you?
I've got one that's still fresh on my mind.
Ooh.
A couple months ago, I was here with my girlfriend and one of our dressers here at Riverside. We were leaving the building. We were the only two in here, and we were locking up after she finished with her laundry duties for the evening. We were walking out into the main lobby, and in here in the theater, it was already dark. Everything else was turned off, but the lights out in the lobby were still on, so I had to go turn those off. As we were walking into that lobby from this service alley, we hear someone or something in here whisper just the word, "Hey," quiet as can be. And I know I'm not crazy because without speaking a word, me and my girlfriend both looked at each other, and without me saying anything, she looks right at me and says, "I heard that too." So we left the building that night in a hurry, and the lights were left on that evening.
We did a production of Ghost the Musical. That's the closest ghost story I have. I was in that show.
I will say that yes, there is a theater ghost. There's probably more than one theater ghost, but there is a gentleman who started this place. It was his vision, it was his passion. This theater opened in 1998. He is no longer with us in body, but I firmly believe he is here in spirit and very proud. I think he's probably one of the most friendly ghosts that could be here at Riverside. So there you have it.
We here at Riverside love what we get to do every day and all the work that we get to put up on stage and entertain audiences in this region. And we hope you all will continue to just show that love back to us so we can continue to do that for many, many years to come.
There's no place like Riverside. It is the best spot in this area to come and see a quality Broadway play, Broadway musical. Everybody walks out of here elevated and can't wait to say to their friends, to their family, what a great place Riverside is and what a great show I just saw.
Please support live theater
And come and see us here at Riverside Center for the Performing Arts.
to see
Broadway's best in Virginia.